Creative Magic Club. What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. Ashley Rachel is a mindset coach and self-love mentor for spiritual entrepreneurs. She's passionate about helping women tap into and trust their intuition, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So hi Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi Sarah, thank you so much for having me.
So Ashley has been in my world for a little bit. She's one of my biz besties and we love brainstorming together. I love everything that she's about. Her background is in therapy, which I think is really cool. And Ashley, why don't you tell us, how did you get to the place where you are now working with entrepreneurs as a mindset coach?
Yeah, so it definitely has not been like a straight shot kind of journey. I definitely didn't intend to end up where I am now, but looking back, it's really, really cool to see how all of the pieces kind of came together and led me to where I am today. And I think what has made the biggest difference is that throughout my life, I think I have learned to really just trust my intuition and take one step at a time and continue to follow my desires. And I realized that that really is the key to stepping deeper into your purpose. And so for me, I guess I'll start back a few years ago when I had this realization. I went on this trip to Italy with one of my best friends, and it turned into kind of like this spiritual awakening journey where I had just been getting into the law of attraction. I had started to get really interested in manifestation, and I started to realize I really am the creator of my life. We only have one life. If I was to do anything in my life, what would I do? And I just started to think a little bit bigger. And I started to do some research on how to run an online business and how to travel the world. And I just started to get curious, if I was to live my biggest, most beautiful life, what would I do? And so during this trip to Italy, I had this realization. I think I would put myself out there and I think I would start an online business. And it was this new thought that I had never really thought of before, but the idea of making money from anywhere and being able to travel and just this sense of freedom, I realized was something that I had just always craved. And I also realized that I had never really felt right thinking about the 9-to-5 kind of life. That just never really resonated with me. And I didn't ever think that something else was possible until I started to look into online business. And so I started out with a blog. I started with no intention of becoming a coach, but I started with a blog and I just started to write articles. And I've always loved to write. I've always loved to be creative and express myself through music and dance and all these different ways. And so that felt really good to me to write. And then as I got more comfortable with that, and I was also going to school at the same time to become a therapist. And so I was also at the same time really on my own personal healing and self-love journey. And so I started to slowly incorporate those lessons, the self-love, the mindset, into my blog. And so it went from being a travel blog to a self-love blog. And then as I got more comfortable with that, I thought, well, maybe I'll start putting myself out there a little bit more, which felt really, really scary at first. But I started putting more photos of myself. I started sharing more of my personal stories. I started doing live videos. And then I realized it would make so much sense. And it just feels so right that instead of becoming a therapist, I could become a coach and I could actually help people in this bigger way that's so much more aligned to what I want. And so that's how I became a coach. And so it's really been like this beautiful, unexpected journey of trusting myself and just putting one foot in front of the other and stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit at a time. And it's been a wild, beautiful, incredible journey so far.
I love that. I love listening to people's stories about how, yeah, it's always the desire that drives those little shifts, right? Like nobody ever starts out being like, I want to be all over the internet. Like, I just want to post pictures of myself and like shout about what I believe all day, every day. But yeah, very similar to me, just that craving and that desire for freedom. And then your intuition just leads you to all of these possibilities that are available to you right now in the moment. And then they evolve slowly and gradually, and it just becomes more and more fun, and it just starts to evolve. And are you familiar with Amanda Francis' story?
I love her. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to her podcast about how she had a similar story and that she was training in therapy, but she was kind of frustrated by this idea of having to wait and, you know, like finish her qualification before seeing clients, and then how that drove her towards becoming a coach, and suddenly, you know, it just exploded and she started helping all these people. And
yeah, she really inspired me. Like I had actually found something. I just remember this one day, like she came into my awareness and I just heard the name like Amanda Francis. And then I kept like kind of seeing her name pop up. And I remember feeling like, I think I'm meant to like learn more about her, work with her or something. And I remember I looked into her, and it was around the same time that I was trying to decide, like, do I want to continue down this path and become a therapist, or do I really want to commit and go full time in my coaching business? And I found her and I found her story, and it was just like, whoa, like the universe led me to find her because it was exactly what I needed to hear to help me walk away from that and give myself permission to do what I actually wanted to do.
So cool. I think about this all the time, about how much I just love the internet and I love social media, because it gives you that ability to create an instant impact. Like you can instantly reach people with a message. You don't have to wait for like some other external body or like company or system to approve you in order to reach the people that you want to help. Like you get to deliver a direct message by putting up a blog. Like you can do it within an hour and be reaching people. You can create a product or a service and be reaching people and be helping people within a matter of hours. And it's so powerful and I love it so much. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about like, what is the main message on your heart that you feel most inspired to share with your people?
I think really, you know, I have so many messages, but what it always feels like it comes back to is leading from your soul. Like really, number one, I think for me, it's been quieting the chatter, the self-doubt, the shoulds, the supposed to's, like quieting the mind through mindfulness, through self-care, through slowing down, so that I can tap into my intuition and so that I can hear the desires of my heart. And so it's like really intentionally every day, spending time quieting my mind, getting in touch with my heart. Like, what do I want to do today? How do I want to show up online today? What do I want to talk about? What's on my heart to share? What's on my heart to create? Like leading every decision from that place of like what really feels truly aligned. And I think I've gotten to this place where I can instantly tell in a moment of like, is this right for me or is this not? And it's through my body. I think I have really great like self-awareness and body awareness that I just know myself so well that I can tell if something's right and something's wrong, which has taken some practice. But I've gotten to this place, I think, where I've learned to really just trust that, like the whispers and the nudges and the little pulls of like, wouldn't it be fun to do that? And wouldn't it be like amazing to create a course on that? And wouldn't it be fun to reach out to this person? And just like following those little whispers in every single decision I make. And I haven't always done that. I think at the beginning of my business, especially, it was like, what's the right thing to do? And what are other people doing? And should I be more like that or do more things like that or show up more with this personality? And it was like, I was looking outside of myself for so many of the answers. And I've learned how powerful it is to just lead your life and your business from your soul. And like what a difference it makes in the way that you show up and the way that you feel connected to your work. Like, I am just so happy that I realized the importance of that. And so that's really the message that I love to share with people is like, trust yourself. The thing that you want to do deep down, the thing that keeps coming to your mind, the little whispers, the little nudges, come back to those and trust those and take action on those, because your desires and your intuition is always, always, always safe guidance.
Yeah, this is such an important conversation. And I think, for me, it took me a while to train that capability, first of all, to have the sensitivity to get the internal messages, those little whispers, as you say. Mm-hmm. And then the other piece of that conversation is like, cool, hearing the whispers and like noticing when the same ones keep coming up again and again and again, and then learning to trust them enough to take action and then building that trust. And I think, the more you do that, the more you listen and then, as quickly as possible, take action on that guidance, then you see how that always leads you to the most fun. It always leads you to the biggest shifts. It always leads you to the most aligned decisions and the results that are a best fit for you and the methods that are a best fit for you to be getting to where it is that you want to go. And then the more you build that trust, the easier it is to listen and to start to navigate your life from that place, because it's such a reconditioning process, because we grow up, as kids, like being told what to do by our parents, by schools, been like going through the systems, being told like, steps A and B will lead you to C, when, we realize when we get older that that's not always the case for everybody. And so, it really is a practice. And I think it's a letting go of control, right? Because we don't, like you say, you never knew that you were going to end up being a mindset coach for entrepreneurs when you decided to start your blog, but that's where it led you. And same for me too. And often, if you'd been told that when you knew that back then maybe you wouldn't have wanted to do it, because you shifted into like a different type of a person as you take one step after another. And your intuition is like, it'll always lead you to the path of least resistance to you. It'll always point you in the direction that is available to you in that moment. And it's such a timely conversation, I like to think of it as waves. Often maybe you don't take the action on something and you miss an opportunity, but they'll like the waves keep crashing. There'll always be another opportunity that washes up to you. It might look a little bit different than the last one, but as long as you keep listening, as long as you keep showing up, and you learn to start to act on those impulses with more immediacy, then things can start to unravel and unfold in really magical ways, which is just, and I think particularly as a coach, like in the coaching world, it's so important to work with a coach who guides you to trust yourself rather than somebody who's like, this is how I did it, follow these exact steps and you can get there, because that doesn't work for everybody. And so I think I find like I'm grateful for my intuition to guiding me to mentors who have always guided me back to trusting myself first and foremost. And I'm so grateful for that. And I really see that that's why my path in business has always been fun. It's always unfolded quickly for me. And it hasn't involved that much hustle and struggle, because I was led by that guiding principle of self-trust. So I think it's really, really important. I would love for you to talk a little bit about like some of the things that you see people struggle with when it comes to self-trust and, some of the ways that you work with people to help them build that.
Yeah. I love everything that you just shared. And I think maybe one of the biggest struggles that I see is just the self-doubt that can come up and the imposter syndrome that can come up of like, we have this desire that comes up of like, oh, I'd really love to start that business, or I'd love to speak on that podcast, or like whatever the desire is, it comes up. And then sometimes what happens, I think, is we hear it or we feel it and we know it's there, but then we question it and we go, well, who am I to do that? Like, am I good enough to do that? And then we look at other people and then we start comparing ourselves. And I think it can just turn into this whole negative spiral where we want to trust ourselves. We want to take action, but then it's like all this fear, all this self-doubt, all of this, like, oh, I could never do that. And I think what we've got to realize is that, like, why not you? If it's okay, I'll share just a quick story of like how this example for me was that I actually, a few years ago, I sang the national anthem at a baseball game in front of like 30,000 people. And it was really incredible how this unfolded because it started with that nudge from my intuition. And so what had happened, I had just graduated high school and I had won a scholarship from the Red Sox. And along with the scholarship, they had sent me 2 free tickets to a game. And I wrote back to say, thank you so much for the scholarship. Thank you so much for the tickets. If you don't have anybody to sing the national anthem that day, I would love to do it. And it was like this moment of like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, that is so silly of me. But like something in me was telling me to do it. And of course, the self-doubt came up, the imposter syndrome, like, there's so many better singers. Like, why would they pick me? I don't know. But like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to trust it. We'll see what happens. And so they wrote back and they said, why don't you send in an audition video? And so I did. And then they wrote back and said, sure, we'd love to have you do it. And it was like this moment of, wow, I can do big things. And I did it. And it was the most mind-blowing, beautiful, crazy, like wonderful experience. And I always just think of that example as like coming back to that reminder, it is safe to trust that initial desire. And why not you? Like, why not you?
I love that story. Oh, amazing. And I think it's important to recognize that it's okay if you feel shit scared, that if you do, you go and you stretch yourself and you put yourself out there and like take a leap with your faith and belief in what's possible for you. And yeah, like it's okay for you to be really scared of something and still know that it's aligned for you and that it's going to turn out amazingly. And I think, the more you get into the practice of doing that, the less scared you become because you have that evidence and that proof stacking up that when I follow those impulses, when I act on my intuition, it always leads me to something fun that is super expansive for me. That's, brings me so much value and so much joy. And I was talking to one of my mastermind clients about this yesterday because she scored a gig as a singer in front of like an 18-piece jazz band. And, obviously like it was the first time performing for a while because of the lockdown. And there was just, she was navigating those fears of stepping out there and doing a big performance. And she had a really high note to hit. And the thing that really helps with this idea of performance, with stepping out of our comfort zone and being bigger, using our skills to a bigger capacity than maybe what we've proven ourselves capable of before, is to always come back to that. What if I took the pressure off myself? What if I recognized that like this wouldn't be here for me if I wasn't capable of it? And whatever way it goes, I'm going to give it my best shot. And in doing that, it's going to be so fun and really bringing that playful energy to it of, cool, I've created this opportunity for myself because it's super expansive, because it's going to feel really good, because it's going to stretch me in ways that, bring me to my higher capacity and get to really enjoy being there. And yeah, and like that really helped her. Just like she gave herself permission to not go for the super, super high note if she didn't feel, capable of it. And then just by taking that pressure off, she like obviously nailed it in the performance. So
yeah, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And I think we really just need to bring more lightheartedness and playfulness into just life in general. And when we get those intuitive nudges, it doesn't have to be like this big, serious, heavy thing. The way that we can look at it is like, my heart's leading me to this. And like, let's just stay open and see what happens. And, let's see life as more of a game than as like something really, really serious that we have to get perfect all the time.
Totally. And I feel like that's really kind of the phase that we're at with our generation because, previous like members of our family were literally in life or death situations, like in war situations or, like famine situations where life was really serious sometimes because you literally were coming up against the threat of your own death. But we don't, most of us don't experience that on a day-to-day basis, but we're carrying a lot of these emotional survival patterns from previous generations. So it's so important to be doing the mindset work regularly so that we're not reacting as if, a dinosaur is there when really all we're doing is like launching a mindset course or like, singing a song. And to just be like bringing our nervous systems along with us, like very gently and kindly. And like you say, like play and that playful energy is a privilege that we have right now. And is the way to start to soothe some of those kind of anxious emotional responses. And it's just, we get to train ourselves. Like I always talk about mindset work as going to the gym. It's like, or brushing your teeth. Like if you don't want to have stinky teeth, brush your teeth every day. Like if you want to be strong, consistently work out. You don't just go to the gym once. So it's such an important reminder that as we start to create things that have never been created before, or opportunities that maybe nobody in our family lineage has been, had the opportunity to create for themselves, that we get to create those new beliefs, we get to create those new emotional patterns and, continue to strengthen them, continue, to work them and build them stronger. Which is why, I just believe in mindset work so much. And I believe that when you do the mindset work, you can do anything, and not only can you do anything, but it can be so much fun if you let it.
Totally. Yeah, I could not agree more. I think it all starts with mindset. And also beyond that too, I think it's really powerful to get the body on board. I'm so big into mindfulness and meditation and just some more of the somatic like embodiment work with my clients, because sometimes and oftentimes I think we know logically like, okay, I am safe if I put this course out there. Like I know nothing bad's going to happen, but then it's like our body isn't always on board. And so our heart's pounding and like, just viscerally, it's like we have to learn to calm the nervous system. Also just with movement and with meditation and with dance and with singing and opening the throat and all of those types of practices combined with the mindset work, I think is really what I found to be most helpful for myself and my clients when it comes to really just being able to slow down, tap into the intuition and trust it.
Oh, yes. I love that you're bringing this up because, particularly for entrepreneurs and in relation to business, it's like these things like singing, dancing, movement, like we, a lot of the time we'll relegate these types of activities to like, well, they're not money-making activities. Like I need to create my content. I need to, speak to my clients. I need to be visible. I need to do my launch strategy, yada, yada, yada. But if we're not tending to our body and our mind and our nervous system and using the tools that you just mentioned to be, like resetting the, the energy and the state from which we show up to take those actions, then we're bringing those old patternings and those fears and those reactive states, which pretty much shut down our creativity and our connection to those intuitive nudges that always lead us to, the path of least resistance, like easiest, most magical way to get to our results. So, and it took me a really, really long time to, and I'm obviously still working on it to really like connect to how important these activities are and to make sure that they're non-negotiable in my business strategy, making sure that movement and meditation, well, that's like a non-negotiable for me now anyway, but, like play and singing and using my voice and breath work, all of these types of tools that you mentioned that allow us to go into our body and open up to, this higher level of self-trust and awareness and intuition. These are actually the most powerful tools, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like you can do like mindset work, reframing limiting beliefs. You can do affirmations. Like those are so powerful, but trauma really is stored in the body. And a lot of these patterns are stored in the body. And I truly just believe that like self-care and self-love is the path to success. And we don't always think of it that way. Sometimes, a lot of my clients can have like guilt or worthiness issues tied up in like, oh, I should be working. I should be busy. Like I should be in my masculine, but it's so beautiful when you can lean back and when you can get into the more feminine and when you can bring more self-care rituals into your life and just noticing the effect that actually really does have on your business.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's so important. And I think also to like bring this awareness that we do resist it. Like It does take intentional focus. It does take intentional support and accountability to not only be showing up for these activities, but establishing them as habits and really embodying them as habits. And building that awareness, because we do have these built-in forgetters, right? Where we, like when we panic, we just fall back into like whatever our self-sabotaging, like unsupportive old behaviors are, of like working too much or like beating ourselves up or judging ourselves or falling into guilt or whatever it is that, has been one of the ways that we have been self-sabotaging. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's amazing how it's like self-love. It's the key to pretty much everything in life, right? Because when we give that to ourselves, we open ourselves up to the path that's easy, that we're blocking ourselves from when we're, stuck in the struggle, and we're in whatever way that we're showing up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-love is the path to releasing self-sabotage, to releasing guilt, to just releasing the burnout, the overwhelm, the hustling. It is like, yeah, it's just been absolutely incredible. And I can't even imagine like what my business would look like if I would have stayed in that pattern of just like hustling, working all the time and neglecting that piece of self-care.
And I think, it's like when you start to do that work, you start to see how your decision-making shifts. And it'll be little things like, I'm either going to choose this way of delivering my course or my offer that involves tons of work and like loads of hustle, or I'm going to design this offer in a way that's really aligned with what's very natural for me, what's very easy for me, what's really fun for me, and set up a container that, it's very easy for me to show up and create value for my clients. Like there's always a million ways that we can deliver the work that we're doing. And the way that's in alignment with us is always, the path of self-love. And it's getting into that energy in the first place and creating from there that we develop the strategies that make it so easy for us to succeed and make it so easy for us to thrive. And that ultimately benefits our communities and our clients because we get our work out there in so much more of an impactful way. So I love that we're having this conversation.
I know, me too. I always love to say that like when one woman prioritizes herself and her self-care, she inspires other women to do the same. And it is just like this big domino effect where when, just imagine how much better the world would be if we're all showing up to really take good care of ourselves and really practice mindfulness and really slow down and really just tune into our intuition. I think, especially as leaders and healers and coaches, like it is our responsibility to prioritize that. And it feels good too.
Yeah. And it's possible, like that is abundance. Like it is possible for us to live in this way. It is possible to have a business and run it in a way that doesn't involve sacrificing your health, that doesn't involve, there are tons of incredible mothers out there who are mothers and running super successful businesses. And of course it's possible. And I think, I've always been drawn to leaders and mentors who are leading by example and showing, that they're not living like a hustle-full, like burnout style business. And because I'm just not available for that. Like I've been through a burnout in my previous career and I have suffered, and felt how painful it is when your health is sacrificed, when your body packs in, and it takes a lot of time, focus, energy, and money to rebuild our health. And, some people never get to rebuild their health after something like that. And it's just something that we get to not be available to sacrifice, no matter what, industry you're in. Like there is a way. It just takes being strategic. It takes being smart, and it takes having much higher standards. And I think it's really, like you say, it's so important as coaches, as leaders, to be an example for that, to stop settling for that, to have stronger and stronger boundaries. And I think like it always comes back to the conversation of boundaries, like everything in business, everything in happiness and health, in relationships, it all comes down to boundaries. And where do we have good boundaries with ourselves and each of these, the ways that we relate to each of these different areas, and where do we not? And, helping clients to up level, to earn more money, to transition careers, like it becomes about tightening up the boundaries, clearing out the things that aren't in alignment, and making more space and time and focus and energy for the things that are expansive, that feel really good, and that are moving us in a direction that we actually want to go in.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. I think like boundaries are such a good topic. Well, maybe we'll have to have you on another time to dive into that topic.
I would love that. Yeah.
But thank you so much for bringing this topic to the podcast today, Ashley. I love everything that you're doing. Can you tell anyone who's interested in finding out more about your work, where to go?
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And if anybody is interested in finding me, checking out my work, I would say Instagram is probably where I've been hanging out the most and having a lot of fun over there. And my handle is Ashley Rachel Coaching. And then I also have a website where you can find all of my offers and everything, www.ashleyrachelcoaching.com. And then I have a Facebook group too called the Soul Led Leaders. And the thing that I am most lit up and excited about right now is my Soul Led Leaders Mastermind, which is my 4-month mastermind for coaches and healers and entrepreneurs who are ready to do this self-trust work, who are ready to really lead less from the head, less from that place of like overthinking and hustling and being in your masculine, and more in your feminine, more in your body, more practicing self-care, and more just leading from the heart and leading from your desires. And so I am super excited about that. I have a few spots open if anybody is interested. And feel free to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram if you have any questions.
Amazing. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.